It looks like we are on.
Well, give us.
I think it'd be a good idea to test out the Roll20 today, since this is the tech rehearsal.
You're not wrong.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna need to mute Twitch. I got on just
Watching
to see.
while playing? That's a bit too meta, Casey.
Well, my brother was concerned that he couldn't see anything, so I was keeping an eye on it to see when we went live.
Minute. Does Kevin watch?
Hold up minute. Well,
Does
this is
Kevin
why
watch
we're doing. This is
Golden
why we're
Review?
doing a dry run. This is why we were doing a dry run. While we are dry running and we're at the beginning of an episode, I'm gonna go ahead and read through what I am currently calling our quality disclaimer. See how it sits with everyone. It is my vision to open every episode with this little blurb, and this will be like there'll definitely be a couple minutes. Hey, how's it going? Dance, yay! But then when we get down to business, someone, maybe the person DMing, maybe a volunteered player, is going to read through, and it says, "Good evening, everyone. Just your friendly reminder that we are proud of our product. It bears saying that none of us are actually professional actors or recorders. As such, we are all sitting at home during these difficult times, recording on a myriad of devices and internet qualities. Please give us if there are technical difficulties and/or interruptions from pets and toddlers. We love you and hope you enjoy the show."
Love it.
Good.
It's perfect. I'm all
Okay.
about it.
As long as that sits well with everyone, because there will, like, this is gonna be very much an experiment, and we're gonna have a great time with it. But there are times where you can hear Bailey howling in my background, and I know I'm not the only one with an infant in the house. So, let's go really quick. I am going to call out actual people's names, and we're going to make sure your mic is working and everyone can hear you. If we could have someone who's watching the live stream either comment in the live stream confirming they can actually hear everyone, or text one of the players or myself privately that you can, that would be fantastic. But we're just going to start at the top. I assume you all can hear me. Anna, can everyone hear you? Elliot, can everyone hear you?
Hello, this is a mic check.
Casey, can everyone hear you?
Don't know, but we'll find out soon.
Lene, can everyone hear you?
Hopefully, but we'll find out.
Princess, can everyone hear you?
Microphone check. 1, 2, what is this?
Sarah, can everyone hear you?
Let's just make sure. Hi, everybody.
Karina, can everyone hear you?
We're about to find out if they can or not.
And Lydia, can everyone hear you?
I don't know. Can you?
Well, I could at least hear everyone, so that's optimistic. Are we getting any feedback from the stream, Anna? Is anyone watching? Excellent.
I did check for a second the sound. I cannot listen to both the voice chat and the stream sound at the same time because they are not in sync.
Yeah, that is decent.
Hey, Princess.
Yeah.
My brother just texted me saying that you were a little quiet. So if you
I'm a
could move
little
your mic a
quiet.
little closer, maybe, or something.
Another way we
know.
can make Princess a little bit louder is if whoever is streaming, in this case Anna, though it will not be that way every week, turns Princess a little bit up on their Discord. It'll make it louder on the stream.
Yeah, we usually I turn people up and down depending on their mics.
I am currently on a headset that I cannot make louder, but I am expecting a new microphone, hopefully before the start of session 1.
Fantastic. All right. That makes sense.
I'm guessing that you can't go over, mine go up to 200%.
All right, and now we just need Kevin. Where is long lost Kevin?
Yeah. And then Sarah, Karina, and Lydia, if you want to go ahead.
Okay, finally.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Huzzah!
Hello, hello.
Yes, if everyone could work on changing their nicknames, there's a pretty established format, and that makes it easier not only on us as co-players, but also eventually this Discord will hopefully be kind of public facing, and so if one of us posts a message, then fans will know who that is from. We're going to talk about that later tonight as we get into it. Kevin, you said something, but give us a proper mic check.
Check 1 2, check 1 2.
I can hear you fantastic. We will wait to hear people watching in the stream how that came across. The first thing I would like to discuss before we even get into player and character introductions, there is a good chance that if people become interested in this as a show, that we're going to want some level of public-facing documentation, episode to episode. Would we prefer to kind of elect a person or a small handful of people to be responsible for that? Or would we like to take time as a group in between each session to kind of make formal, this is basically what happened last week kind of document? What are our feelings on that?
Can we do a mix of both, where each in each sub party there is one person whose
Notes are
responsibility it
public.
is to to create a document. Understanding that everyone look at it and makes it's accurate and complete.
Thus effectively taking some of the weight off, but elect.
Yeah, that seems like it would make sense to me, but
Yeah. Action, have a couple things open to review and then post them publicly.
Yeah, I think everyone else with that.
Good with it.
That would be good.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's roll initiative. Please post your initiative roll in the Discord chat.
should I roll a new one?
You can if you'd like.
I'll take my 14.
Not right now.
Yes, right now.
Do, 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 do.
So is this an initiative roll, like bonuses and everything?
If you want it to.
Do you roll
Okay.
initiative without your bonus?
But whose bonuses are we using? Are we using our personal bonuses or
I don't know. You tell me, Princess.
character
What's your
bonuses?
dexterity score?
Well, since I rolled my initiative several minutes ago, I would say pretty high.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Still missing one. There it
Got it.
is. Congratulations, Kevin.
Damn you, Kevin.
Yeah.
You get to introduce yourself first. Please go ahead, give just like 10 seconds of who you are and let us listening to your sultry voice. And then go ahead and give very basic, don't give away the farm, character introduction, but make sure if your character has a voice that the character introduction their voice.
Okay. The introduction that I've written is it's third person, so it's kind of an outsider perspective. But
You're welcome to read that out loud. Give this is basically the character I'm playing.
Okay, but anyway, just for introduction's sake, my name's Kevin. So I'm currently studying medicine and pathology. But I really I like this stuff. I got into theater and opera and did a lot of that in college and in high school, and this is my creative outlet for that. So I really like doing this. The Kedman, bleh, the character that I'm playing is Edmund of the Dragomir clan, and he hails from the north of Barredo in the wastelands of Ontaria. His keen eye and knowledge of the land were honed in the harsh plains of his upbringing. He has an affinity for the great lizards of Qutasa and has great expertise in their behavior and handling. He often applies this knowledge of living with such great beasts to his interactions with others, with varying degrees of success. And travels with his companion and hunting partner, a small raptor named Volga. They share a mutual bond and have guarded each other in a journey together. Outside of Volga, Edmund keeps little company, preferring to travel light and stick to the life he knows. However, Edmund's solemn quest has now led him and Volga to seek challenge and glory in the Ulan games. He hopes the championship in the games will grant him catharsis and renewal for sins past.
That's beautiful. So beautiful. Lene, can we hear briefly about you and then about your character?
Sure. Yeah. I'm Lene. I am not a theater person at all. I'm actually an engineer. So for me, the rules and mechanics in D&D are just my life. I love to memorize them all and be able to use them in creative ways. Um, I've been playing D&D for a couple years now, and it's kind of one of those things I just got unabashedly into it, and I love it so much, and it takes over my whole life. Um, so really excited to play in this game with y'all. My character is Victor. The character art is still a bit in progress. Um, they they are a storm warrior for the goddess Zorfina, goddess of storms. They wield a large war hammer with this intricate kind of lightning metalwork detail to it. They are uh, they are a sight to behold. They are tall and strong and athletic and a bit intimidating with their armor and their shield and their heavy warhammer, but um, their hair is this really silvery kind of opalescent color, and they seem to just kind of radiate and glow, their skin. But so while they are hard to look away from, they're also very very intimidating. They serve their goddess. They will follow her whims and fulfill her needs and requests as given, and kind of how they've ended up in this whole place. They're young. They're to themselves, and they're excited to hopefully win this in Zorfina's name.
Excellent. Casey, can I hear from you now?
Hello, my name is Casey Davis. I am an engineer, and I have also in the past done several musicals, so I dig everything about D&D. Ever since dance got shut down because of COVID, this has pretty much been my life. uh, as for Zach's introduction from him, hello, hello, hello. My name is Zaxon Tinkerfoot. As you can see, I'm a short and scrawny gnome with overgrown reddish brown hair and deep brown eyes. Some people call me tech, some call me distracted. I've even got Lost Boys a couple times, although I think I figured a way around that one. I'd love nothing more than to hold myself up in my shop. I've always been interested in technology, but I got most of my experience when I went to school at SIT, the Slav Institute of Technology. Oh yeah, I hail from the Ringtogia region, Emrod specifically. That it's not really that I'm not a people person. It's just that machines have always been much easier to understand. I'm not. I've been researching these capture and preserve souls inside other objects. However, souls are much more not machine than I'm used to working with, and I'm having trouble even really identifying what a soul is. I've managed to get my hands on and read this book called Soundwave's Key to the Soul that has really got me into like producing music. I've been composing lots of stuff, and I even developed this machine that plays the music for me. Anyway, intro. It's been a couple of years since I started composing, and I have yet to entice a free soul. So to move my research along, I'm on a quest to have a face-to-face with the god Yarvis to see if she might be willing to give me any information on this topic. How does someone like me meet a goddess? By going to the Ulandian Games, of course. There's only one problem. I don't exactly exude a warrior stature or personality. So I was rejected by Ringtogia, and I'm searching for another team that might have me.
Beautiful. Simply beautiful. Princess.
Hi. I am Princess. My pronouns are they, them, and I do not have a theater background or a D&D background. So this is pretty new to me. All I've got is some experience as a preschool teacher talking about feelings and doing silly voices. Yeah. And then my character. Well, hi there. My name is Evan, and I've been on this earth for about 87 summers now. Now, I was born in Lepkit, but I did most of my living in Damakanoria, where I met the love of my life and started myself a little family, although it ain't so little now, let me tell you. About a year and a half ago, I lost my love, and I left Damakanoria to be about my business. And now I've ended up here in these here games. And I tell you, I'm pleased about it. And that's it. There it is.
That is awesome. I'm here for that character voice. Lydia, you ready?
I'm Lydia. It's Dallas's fault that I do any tabletop roleplay at all, whatsoever. It's his fault. Anyway, I don't know what I am. A jack of all trades. I've done school bus driving. I'm working in a call center now, studying psychology and trying to figure that one out. That's fun. But anyway, my character is Karma, a wee black butt, a little kitty cat that's just going about her business as a cat, doing cat things, trying to change the world the way that cats think it should be. And that's why she's here. And that's about it.
Fantastic. Sarah, let's hear from you next.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah, she, her, and I will be playing Lydia Gumkill. Like, hi, everybody. Oh, I'm here. Yeah, you Liddy, or lie if you'd like. I hail from Lipkit with pistols and boldness in tow. My parents are fantastic dwarves who adopted me when I was when I was a little girl. I was an orphan, but you know how that goes. And I'm just the type who will leap before I look. That's what my parents say. They also tend to say, like, trouble seems to follow me wherever I go, but I think I have luck on my side because no matter how sneaky things get, no matter how strange I may get myself into trouble or trouble seems to follow me, I always seem to come out, like, on the other side so much better. And I kind of learned from my experience too. Like, oh my god, this one time I was trying to make this gun and I ended up blowing up my parents' house. So it went from me staying to Lipkit to me now traveling the world. And I heard about these games and I was like, cool, I'm down. Let's do this. So really excited to see you guys. Oh my god, I'm so excited to play these games. And I just hope we all have like a fantastic time.
Not gonna lie, I'm super excited about that character. I foresee much chaos. Karina.
Heyo! Anyone who knows me from the interwebs calls me Star, which is short for my internet nickname, which is some variation of the Last of the Star Makers, which I've used since like the early 2000s. Though my actual name is Karina. I'm a professional opera singer, and I run a Patreon called Karina Sings, where people can support both my performance ambitions as well as my compositional notion. Played some form of top roleplay since the probably played a lot of board games. I'm kind of a nerdy person. As for the character I'll be playing, if the honors of the men who sat with the confidence of someone believe themselves to be the most attractive thing in it didn't catch your attention, then perhaps it's the way her emerald green eyes never actually seemed to see anyone else around her, scanning over faces and heads, but never quite seeming to register a single one of them. As she weaves through tables or chairs or people with something of a dancer's grace, each movement precise, fluid, intentional, she makes her way to an empty corner and does not hesitate to face it. Along her way, perhaps you'll notice the intricate hilt to the rapier sheathed rakishly to her side. It appears as if it is made of vines, the same vibrant green as her eyes. When you look again, she will have pulled a mirror from somewhere and is gazing tentatively in it at herself, primping as though she needs it. Getting her attention will be something of a feat in and of itself, but if you can manage to pull her away and inquire after her name, she'll tell you to call her Narcissa.
Very nice. And for our last player introduction, Elliot, let's hear from you.
Hello, my name is Elliot. Much like Karina, I also am a professional opera singer. And I teach voice lessons as well at Tulsa Community Adjunct there. Year- uh, and he really wants to be y'all's best friend. So, unless you're from what's it called, Rintogia, right? That's the one. Yeah, he didn't like them very much. Other than that, he's just kind of along for the ride, and you'll notice he is a dog, a literal dog. So, yeah.
I do feel compelled in this moment to point out that in this setting, sentient animals are entirely unheard of. Two that are in this group are the only on me that sentient animals in NPCs in, but also everyone you meet is going to be very surprised to meet a talking animal, and if they aren't, you should be immediately suspicious. Just pointing that out.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Anna, do you mind giving yourself a short introduction? I was gonna say, it seems to be a theme.
Hey guys, just to let you know, since we're streaming from your computer, it's not picking up your voice, and no one can hear you talking.
Let's sort that technical issue out, then I'll tell the people who I am.
Yeah.
Can you?
Wait for the Twitch delay.
This is Anna trying to talk from her own very own microphone.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
excellent.
Okay, and it's not causing absurd feedback?
Absurd.
Now everyone in the Discord heard your introduction, Anna. Do you want to briefly summarize for the audience?
Oh, absolutely. So, no feedback. Okay, good. Okay, so the thought of no feedback actually scares me because I have been in human resources for just about 8 years, and feedback is a core part of who I am. I'm also the pragmatic starburst online, meaning that I am both functional and creative. The team just heard about my myriad of absurd hobbies, and it goes from scrapbooking to photography to novel writing and piano composition. DMing is relatively new for me, and role playing has been a part of my life for forever. I have gone to the grocery store dressed up as Phantom of the Opera and Sweeney Todd. No shame, I love it. And Dungeons and Dragons is, yes, all because of Dallas. So here we go. I'm excited.
I am guilty of getting many of my friends into role playing in its various forms, but most classically, Dungeons and Dragons. I am Dallas MacArthur Marshall. It is where the name MacArthur Adventures comes from, which is my business that I run. I am a professional dungeon master. I more in the corporate work that was almost killing me in pre-pandemic times. I've been telling stories, trying to write novels, and getting involved in role play since 18 years, and this is really just a continuation. Indeed, how new groups form. I do enjoy spending time riding my bike with my dogs, or playing video games and trying to actually see people face to face because I miss dancing terribly. But yeah, I'm excited about the stream project. I really hope that not only the players that we all just met, but also the audience will have a really great time. I think we've got a fantastic group of individuals, and I'm ready to knock this out of the park. I don't know anybody else. A point of order thing I would like to talk about before we get too deep into the weeds of anything else. We are going to become accustomed to each other's voices relatively quickly, but the audience has a good chance of having a harder time, not only because of lower sound going through Twitch, but also just less direct exposure to us talking and having the right content. That said, and I'm going to try to do this with the NPCs as well, think about when you're narrating an action, narrating it in third person instead of to the top of my brain. That'll help the entire audience have a but act and always be able to match voice character. Moving, I have a loose outline. We're going to welcome. I'm gonna keep just hitting points. We are going to be streaming at every week from 7 to 10 p.m. Central Time. However, each of the players is only going to be on the hook for every other week because there are going to be 2 teams of 4. The teams are going to represent Vontaria and Jobix at the games. For lore purposes, it is important to note that Vontaria has and always will be the preservers of nature and definitely the anti-industrialists of this setting. And so, like, going to the games on their behalf is standing behind that goal. Not necessarily in contrast, but definitely, in opposition to that, Jobix is very much in mobile outside world from the continent that the story takes place on. And so, 2 factors. One, they are definitely not anti-industry. If anything, they're pro-industry. But also, Jobix has not managed to win the games, which are played every 5 years, in over a century. And many citizens of Qutasa, the continent, do not shot present the most then move forward a very plethora
Basically the Boston Red and that they want in over a century. Sports.
Sports ball, am I right? So, on that note, like, we're gonna roll out place 6 of this month. We're going to role play out different players assigned different pieces of information and or authority in recruiting and some driving moment behind the two teams. But if you have scheduling needs, it is to you that the Jobix team will be quote unquote first. The Jobix team will play not only on the 26th, but on the following Saturday of the 3rd as well, and will then start the every other pattern. Whereas the Ontarian will initially play on the 26th, everyone's going to be there, but then their next game won't be until the 10th, and then they will be filling the every other slot from there. Does that make sense?
Aye, aye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So for scheduling purposes, be thinking about that, and like, I'm open to some character tweaks if you kind of need to adjust your character to fit your schedule. That's something we can definitely discuss privately and figure out that side. Any questions, comments, suggestions, discussion regarding schedule? I'm gonna take that as a no.
Sounds good to me.
With the resounding
That is fantastic.
Wonderful.
So next item on our agenda is talking about kind of the overall structure that Anna and I see for season 1 and how it's gonna go. Like, obviously, no plan survives contact with the players, and we are anticipating that. But the
Very wise.
current
Tell us your plan
trajectory,
so we can ruin it.
the current trajectory is the climax of season 1, whether or not you are ready for them or in attendance, are going to be the Eulandian games. Session 1 is going to be the forming of the teams, and then the bulk of the season is you are going to be training to be a team. Adventuring is a common way teams train for the Eulandian game. So as like you go around and you're looking for work and there's a group of you looking for work, a lot of people are going to be, you're training for the games, who do you represent? Kind of thing. So there will definitely be plots, subplots, and movements that have nothing to do with the games, but the overarching goal will be to come together as a team so that you can claim victory for your team at the games. Does that follow?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sure.
All right. Now, final warning on that. At the games, the teams may engage in a head-to-head competition. So there might be a session or two that everyone will be expected to be in attendance as part of the season climax. We will obviously discuss that closer to time because we don't actually know what's going to happen. Because Anna and I are not the only ones telling this story. But we definitely do want to give everyone a pre-warning that there might be a couple weeks in a row that you are expected to play sequentially rather than the every other pattern we had. And like, if it doesn't work for everyone, we can play with partial teams.
And
That is definitely acceptable.
And also that there might be some PvP
Yes, there may be some PvP.
relevant.
Highly relevant. It is important to note, in lore, the Eulandian games happen on a separate dimension. And so in that dimension, Yarvis, the goddess of death, has suspended death. And so even if you are killed in that dimension, you can be put back together.
Okay, quick question on the schedule.
Yes.
About how long is season 1? That way we know what the last couple weeks are so we can make sure we leave those weekends open.
It should be about 6 months, because playing every other week, we're looking to have between 10 and 15 episodes for each team.
Sounds good.
Obviously, the exact timing of that will depend, but that is the goal.
Players can always break it to get through everything in first session, right?
Yeah. We're just
It
going to the
never
games.
takes multiple sessions to clear a dungeon. Never.
No, I've never had that happen in any of my games.
We've never had an entire day free session. Nope.
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 I'm having PTSD of making an entire ninja.
I was just I think it is approaching that climax of just be like, hey, we're kind of like trending towards this. These are the weekends we're thinking maybe for crossovers, just like for planning purposes.
And like for planning purposes, I do not mind a meta level discussion of, okay, the crossover event is this date 1 month out. We all need to be at Y place in the story by that time. Or this is not going to work out. So I'm comfortable with that, and having to massage the meta level story in order to get the results we want in the live story. Any other questions concerning scheduling, trajectory, seasons, any of that?
We do have a question from Twitch.
Ooh.
They say, will time change affect schedule? Asking from Arizona. There is no daylight savings.
Yeah, no daylight savings.
Not in Arizona.
Not in
I used
Arizona.
to live there.
So to my understanding, we're going to, the time will be the same, but daylight savings time will shift when that time is.
Yes.
That will definitely. Oops, sorry.
So always 7 Central Time.
Always 7 Central.
Yep.
That is my understanding, but that's going to be a question to each of the players to ensure that their schedules are not changed by daylight savings time.
Daylight savings time.
We really need to up daylight savings time. I will say that publicly, any opportunity given.
Hi, daylight.
It's my least favorite time of the year. Sorry. I won't sing, but that's the tagline.
Well, this got so fast.
So political. Final talking about this, we are hopefully, if the tech works, this is kind of the big test. Recording every episode. It is intention to upload those to YouTube.
Nice.
So that anyone can go back and watch them, and this is going to be recorded and likely uploaded. So people can kind of get a quick, behind the scenes look, who we all really are, when we're just talking casually, not trying to slit each other's throats.
Preemptively apologize.
I smashed my
Said the dog.
What? He heard my intro and didn't like it?
Die fiend!
Well, Casey and Theo, or Elliot, will not be on same teams.
Not with
more
that
likely than you think.
attitude.
Anyways, we are setting up a Patreon. Is it Patreon or Patreon?
Patreon.
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 In there, yeah.
We are setting up a Patreon for people who want to support this, and if if people like this, and if people like or keep doing this, this is wonderful. This is the highlight of my week. There's going to be an avenue for that, and there are going to be some rewards if you're willing to throw a little more money at us. With long-term goals being actually paying our actors. But we'll see, if anyone actually likes this product besides us. I'm
Truly apologize.
Elliot.
Oh gosh. And then I also do intend on having the Venmo and PayPal linked, especially on the live stream, for if people are just having a great time and want to throw us a tip. And those will be divided. They'll be pool divided if people are doing that with any kind of consistency. But I'm going to go ahead and read the Patreon tiers and make sure that everything we're promising sits right with everyone and nobody's feeling like their time is being assumed. Players are only directly involved in one of the tiers, but technically two with the note-taking. But if the weight of note-taking needs to fall on Dungeon Masters, it can. I just know we have some fantastic note-takers in this group. So, first tier, which is named Filigree at Anna's request, is $1 per episode. And the description is as follows. Truly, what are we without our sense of fashion or accessories? As our base tier, this is the easiest way to support the show. And what they get for supporting us at $1 an episode is our deepest love and gratitude.
I think I can handle that.
Yeah, that seemed pretty easy.
I can do love and gratitude, sure.
And he'll enjoy it too.
The second tier is the heroic tier, which is $5 per episode. And the description is as follows. The primary support tier heroic patrons are investing in the show thoroughly enough to have access to the Google Drive where we keep all player-level lore and artwork. This includes, but is not limited to, character biographies, player biography, world maps, character art, world lore, and campaign notes. So what they get is our deepest love and gratitude, and access to lore and artwork. The third tier, the mastery tier, is $10 per episode. And as a master supporter, you not only have access to all our lore documentation and artwork, but also viewing access in a public-facing Discord channel where we chat out of character, post memes, and answer fan questions submitted via Twitter or other avenues. So they get our deepest love and gratitude, access to lore and artwork, and Discord access. This is kind of the big one, because all the players would be in that Discord channel. Fans would not be allowed to post, they would just observe. But there might be a context where a fan asks a player a question rather than the Dungeon Masters a question, and we may ask you to respond to the question, but if you do not feel like answering the question, or if you don't feel like you can adequately answer the question, we can definitely answer it for you. Does that sit well with everyone?
Yes.
That sounds
Well, I
good.
never feel like I can
Yeah.
adequately answer a question.
Well, Elliot, we're not here to discuss your inadequacies.
Oh, the spice is out early.
I'm sure you have enough support in the room that we will assist you in answering asking.
Excellent. 42. 42 is all the answer.
Always.
Always. Any fan question? 42.
42.
That's Elliot's go-to response to any fan question.
That'd be great.
Well, their answer's gonna be you.
It'll be
Maybe
and
like
42 on the die.
if you're only like half sure and the answer 21.
Yes.
Like,
Too much math. This is D&D. There's no math here.
What's my character's intelligence? What's my character's intelligence?
The final tier is the epic tier, which is $20 per episode. And not gonna lie, if people are giving this channel $20 an episode, I feel indebted to them. So the description is as follows. As an epic tier supporter, not only do you get a double dose of our deepest love and gratitude, but it comes with all other tier benefits in addition to open access, this means they can comment, to an exclusive Discord channel with both Dungeon Masters, where you can discuss the game with us in terms and concepts that even the players may not be privy to. This level of investment comes with a verbal agreement that you will keep knowledge gained from this deep access respectively private. Can't give away our secrets if you're going to tell everyone, now can we?
Can players?
Yeah, literally my
the epic
question.
tier?
I was like, so, $20, huh?
Not
so
above bribery, so.
kind of a piece of this pitch. Like, we are not going to, Anna and I are not going to, on any level of potentially public channel, discuss things like plot twists and secret bad guys that are there all along, or the actual plans for the big bad evil guy, or any of that. What we will engage with is things about like our process, or how we view some of like the ancient mysteries of Qutasa, or discussions about the structure of Pantheon, things that we would be cagey with players. The love.
$20 to tell me every prowess. Every
Better ones.
It's got to be at least 40.
Magic weapons, maybe? That's $30. So.
That's $30.
For a full set of armor for your dog.
There has been.
Called?
What was that?
What was
that tier
called
is
again?
the epic tier. The final three names, the name, but Anna, but the final name, heroic tier and the epic tier, are they're a little old school, but they're names for the tier of play. The heroic tier is 1 to 10, the mastery tier is 10 to 20, and the epic tier is 20 to 30.
Oh.
Why is it like per episode instead of like per month? I guess like I'm not familiar with Patreons for D&D streams, but most Patreons I see are usually like a per month thing.
So Patreon tried really hard to push per month. But there are two reasons I didn't want to do per month. The first one being, if we screw up and we fail to provide the content promised, I do not want to charge our patrons for content they did not get. And so I will charge the Patreon accounts after we have aired an episode. That just to me feels more moral, more clear conscious business kind of stuff. The second reason, not gonna lie, is marketing. $5 an episode or $1 an episode looks a lot friendlier than $20 a month.
Yeah.
Got a question.
Yeah.
Are we doing any kind of incentives for I thought they were called Twitch Prime, but I guess now it's called Prime Gaming. Are we doing any kind of incentive for people who use their channel subscription to support streamers? Like anything for them?
I am entirely unfamiliar with that. It is my hope to leave the Twitch side entirely free. I want to be able to tune in and watch the episodes. The Patreon is simply for people who wish to support us and want to see a second season.
Oh, okay.
Because ultimately, like, this is a super fun project, but this is only going to make it one season if nobody's paying money. Um, the memes have begun.
I would say that I'm sorry,
Nice.
but I'm not really sorry.
There's probably actually.
Farina is our resident meme lord, apparently.
I wouldn't say that, but like.
You are. This is probably a really good time to mention that Anna and I do have a number that is not yet public, but we have done math.
42.
It's higher than 42.
Not allowed.
That if we reach that much support per episode, we will not only do a season, but we will pack season 2. And it won't be like a lot, but it is going to be percentage based. So the more money the show makes, the more money each actor is going to make. Depending on how fast that starts, we may start paying our actors in season 1. I don't know. This is 100% an experiment. But there is a number that if we start getting close to it will become public, where if we hit that number, we will guarantee a season 2, even if we have to change up some actors. How does all of
Only
that
if they
sit?
come in as new characters, 'cause nobody likes recasting.
Oh, I'm not going to recast. No, if we get new actors, they have to roll new characters. That's hard line. How does all of that sit with everyone? Something mental desk that I want to pitch past y'all is kind of as an incentive for tipping, a way that people could spend money to influence the game in minor ways, like giving, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the concept of bottle caps to specific players. Bottle cap is basically a reroll token. Or things of that nature. Does that feel like a territory we want to consider step into? Absolutely not.
You're saying they can
played
tip
with
us
that
for
kind of stuff.
inspiration?
Basically.
Yeah, it's like tipping for inspiration.
Yeah, I've played D&D before with, tabletop game before, where it was like a homebrew family game, and they would have like coupons. They would use coupons that they would pass out for like birthdays and stuff that would give those kinds of things, like either super cool armor that you could attach to a character, or re-roll like coupons basically. And so like you would have some, and during a game you could hand it to the GM if you rolled bad and wanted to re-roll, and he would tear it up and you'd get the re-roll. So I've played with it before, so I'm personally am not against it.
I've played with games with inspiration, and I'm generally down with that. But like, what is it like? Tip $5 for Victor to get inspiration, kind of thing, or like?
Essentially. And we would just have like, if you want to buy a character this, chip in this much money. If you want to buy them this, chip in this much money. And make sure it's not game-breaking things.
Hunger Games-esque.
Very so Hunger Games.
So how much to get Yax in his meeting with Yarvis?
Better armor.
Everybody loves a doggo!
$5 a month. You too can adopt a D&D player.
All right, here we go with our commercial.
In the
Oh god.
In the armor and our sad weapons.
In the arms of poor Theo.
I mean, we have,
So that feels so that feels like everyone was pretty on board with something of that nature. I will work up a price chart. The one caveat I'm going to make is because there is a notable delay with Twitch, like they can't pay to force a reroll on a specific roll.
Yeah.
They can pay to give a redeemable item to a specific player, and it will take effect on the next session. Just to get away from the timing being bad and having to handle things.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me because I have been watching the Twitch and it is like several seconds behind.
Yeah, well,
So we're
I've
technically in the
watched Twitch
future.
streams while on Discord with people and had like 2-minute delays. So anyway,
Yeah, but
sorry, I talked
it's
over
cool if you
someone.
know a character is going into some cool arc or has something big coming up in the next episode that you want to participate in. That'd be cool.
In that vein, do we want to this is stolen straight out of Fable if anyone's ever played Fable. Like if the group's going into a jest, do we want to have like a space for boasts where players have ridiculous challenges for themselves, like going through a scenario, if that they will attempt if somebody's willing to pay them enough money to do so.
My brain went to achievements, and I'm definitely down for that.
We'll experiment with that, and I'll run an example. We'll discuss that later in the group chat. That'll be a thing we grow into, not a thing we start with, if we do incorporate it. But that just crossed my mind, so.
You're just asking, to what level do we want to hoe ourselves out?
Exactly. Exactly. Like, well, and that's a very legitimate question, and I'm very open to, especially if somebody puts in the note in Venmo, like, this one's for Victor because Victor's a badass.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Lene, you would get that entire tip. So, okay, that feels very solid. Oh, yeah. I have a present for all of you.
Lore?
Eh.
Better than lore?
Plenty.
Next question.
We are so easily used.
Already.
But I really love that the first response was lore.
Lore? More lore sips? I am going to also share a fantastic piece of artwork. Oh, this is where I'm going to shamelessly plug Danielle, our artist,
Yes.
which
So
we're
right.
going to work
Yes.
literally everywhere. Nearly all of the art you see is going to be drawn by her, and she is the best. On one of the NPCs y'all are going to be playing with.
Oh, I'm excited for this one. Yep, there he is. Mhm.
Ooh.
You think it's Willy Wonka, but it's not.
Oh my
But it's
god.
not.
I went to school with this guy. I'm joking.
Yeah.
Well, someone that looks exactly like that. He's heels. That's amazing.
Yes,
Alex.
Casey.
Do you mind if I give a shout out real quick?
Give a plug. Plug everything.
All right. If you like the artwork for my character, it was done by that was done before I knew that we were getting artwork.
This is going to be the part of the show where I open up the floor for any questions that anyone has. If you're tuning in on Twitch, definitely text questions, and Anna will answer. But simply my players. Like, it doesn't have to specifically anything about. I'm just very curious if you have any questions.
Are we sharing our character sheets online anywhere for people? Are we expected to store them online in any way?
I do not expect that.
Okay.
What I expect from players is to have basic bios of their character, personal bio optional, available so that somebody who's new to the show can kind of get an idea who this character is before they tune into a live episode, even if they're behind.
Cool.
All right. Question about the Roll20. I'm getting that character imports are not enabled from players.
I will fix that. I won't fix that right now, but I will fix that before we go live.
That's cool. To let you know before.
And I will take notes. You can note it. Forget. questions?
Should we like give Princess 5 minutes to do all of their questions?
Actually, I will be taking my questions off the air.
Ooh.
Ooh.
The 19th and the 26th are full group before splitting. Question from Twitch. I believe we are not starting until the 26th. Is that right?
That is correct. We are not playing on the 19th. We are going to advertise the crap out of this game for 2 weeks, and then we're going to start on the 26th and probably crash our hardware. That's the hope.
Are we
Excellent.
expecting to be like planning a break, like a mid-game break in? Like, that's something that I really like about our non-live game is having a break in the middle.
So generally in the rhythm of the games at about the hour and a half mark, there's a very natural moment to go, okay, 5 minutes, top your beverages. We'll be back at this time. The only thing I would ask out of players, I do intend on still doing that. The only thing I would ask out of players is to do return promptly, if at all possible.
Doable.
I'm also going to place it, the official plug. Yeah. Any further questions?
I believe we all probably know the answer to this from playing with you, but I don't know if it's an expectation you want to set with the audience of how spectrum you two as DMs are from rules as written to rule of cool.
So that I'm gonna actually insist that Anna and I answer this separately. I will answer first. I make a ton of crap up as a DM. And if somebody has a good idea, like using hold person to keep themselves from falling off a cliff, I am going to do everything in my power to let them at least try. I will often put barriers in place, like high DCs or multiple checks that have to succeed in a row. But I do tend to try to let my players do whatever crazy shenanigans enter their brain.
You can always try.
So you're saying you're
Yeah.
an enabler. I like it.
I am an enabler. That is a fact. Anna?
Hello. So, remember that thing about me being in human resources? I do value rules. They exist to give us structure, but at the same time, I want to be reasonable. I do value and reward creativity, though I want to be consistent. If we're going to bend the rules, so to speak, in one scenario, I want to make sure that we are doing that across the board so as not to be particular to one character or one scenario because it was interesting here, but it messes with my plans or a character's objective in another scenario. So I am going to try to be consistent, reward creativity, and overall value the story much more than I am going to value mechanics. So if you're going to argue a mechanic, go for it. I will uphold the rules. But if you see the rules and it's not doing what you want it to do, argue your creativity and we'll probably try to find a way to make it happen.
Following up on that, I do lean a lot on my players to remember if I made a convoluted ruling, what that convoluted ruling was, so if it feels like I'm making inconsistent rulings, call me out on it, even if we're live.
Cool.
Cool. Sounds fair.
Love it.
I know we've kind of talked in the chat that, this isn't exactly a kid-friendly show, but, we're not going full X-rated or anything. But are there any, topics that, even as players that we don't feel comfortable exploring in this setting? Or, how do we feel about, any, romantic things between players or players with NPCs? And
As long as it
Versus,
aligns
do we
with
get a
Twitch,
session?
because there's Twitch streaming service rules. So, in
Yeah.
my opinion, as long as it aligns with that, for me personally anyway, because I don't know if we've really talked about this as players. I know that DMs have kind of said it. It doesn't bother me as long as Twitch isn't gonna ban us.
Anna, I'm gonna defer to the HR person in the room.
So I actually had a unique encounter with this in one of my games recently. So there was a situation where, in D&D there was an incubus and a succubus involved, and a wisdom saving throw was not achieved. And while the players involved, it was all fun and games, and they had a great time. Nothing bad happened, no consequences. But another player was deeply offended and concerned, and so the DM had to kind of do some real assessing about consent, and got to pull both the players that were involved and the player that got offended aside, and profusely apologize. And no feelings were hurt overall, but it did give everyone kind of time to think of, oh, that was just kind of a scenario that came up, and didn't mean to hurt anyone. And so, with themes that could potentially be a trigger for anyone, even though they may not be one for you or for someone keep in mind that, yeah, we are playing to a larger audience. Again, not saying that certain things are barred, but you may want to check with Dallas and I on plot threads that are, just let's be reasonable. And especially with things that involve consent overall, let's check with each other first. Let's just be smart, and just make sure that we're all out to have a good time with each other, and generally just, that is the word, reasonability. Dallas, anything that you would add to that?
I feel like if you're going into a territory you feel might be dangerous, like if your character is doing something particularly violent, or if your character is doing something sexual, or if you are, tearing into an NPC or another player verbally and getting really mean, I would suggest ramping slowly so that the audience kind of has a warning, oh, this is the direction we're going, before suddenly the descriptions are graphic and the words are vulgar.
I would maybe be interested in, once we kind of split into teams, having some sort of regular, just player out of character check-in of just how people are feeling about content and play style and just general dynamics and interaction, just to make sure that we are creating space to talk about anything that does come up and keeping the game feeling healthy for everyone.
I agree. Communication is
100%.
important.
100%.
Cool. Much of a sandbox is this game, versus how much is it more closer to railroading? Well, not the old railroad us, but
I mean, there are literal
Our
trains.
literal railroad.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
like, if any game was gonna be railroaded, it would be this one.
So
Yeah,
this is something I've
railroads.
actually talked at moderate length with a handful of you about, and very generally in our group chat. But this is something the audience should definitely know as well. That the vision for this game is to be very lightly scripted. And what that means is that there's going to be a meta level conversation going on between the dungeon masters and the players, where every episode is going to have trajectories and objectives. How that is executed is up to the players, and we want to promote and push into player choice as much as possible. But we need to not have episodes where functionally we sit around and do nothing. And so striking that balance between y'all need to be going somewhere, but where you are going is up to you. The word I have come up with is semi-scripted. Does that answer your question?
So what you're saying is that you don't want a 3-hour session of us just talking with people during lunch.
I don't know what you're
What are you talking
Unless that conversation involves solid character beats and movement in the story.
which that session did. All of those things.
It did.
Some of the conversations.
Just because you were playing Foursquare with dwarves.
It was a good session. But does that answer your question, Lene?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, anything you want to add to that, Anna?
Nope, that is an excellent explanation.
Something relevant I feel like I should tag onto this. So every 2 episodes, we will be rotating who is DMing. So Anna will kind of be sharing the seat the first night. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to go. Then we might even just toss a coin. We haven't actually decided who's going to DM set episodes 2 and 3, and then the other person will DM episodes 3 and 4. The vision being each of us will DM 1 episode with each group, and then we switch who's DMing, giving us 2 weeks off. Whoever's not DMing will be running the stream and making sure that's stable and there's someone engaged in the chat. But that's a lot less work than DMing. Anything else?
How much room will there be for characters to push their own personal objective?
My hope is that there will be lots of room. There will be like certain understanding that you're not going to just leave the group and go entirely do your own thing, but tying into that meta level, like you've been ignoring Karma's goals for several sessions in a row, it might be worth everyone's time, a session or 2, and go out Karma's question. Does that sound reasonable, Anna?
Oh, absolutely.
Any other questions?
Yeah. We could go all night.
I'm good with that. We have till 10 o'clock. Keep going.
Gender. I know just as some players, we're kind of across the spectrum on genders and pronouns, but like, what is your approach to them in the game with NPCs, just in this world in general?
I try very hard. I'm often not particularly great at it, but I try to make an NPC's character's pronouns very clear in their introduction. And I'm to the entire spectrum. I often land my NPCs binary, which is a shortcoming on my part, but I have entirely no do any degree of representation in that area. Anna?
Same ski over here. Yeah, I see NPC creation as I guess my default that I will have to work on is to just rip and go, and not so good at gender clear. So it just might become a construct for me to introduce their name and gender, or even just text that out in the group chat just to make addressing them clear for administrative purposes. But yeah, that's it's gonna be a
Love
mishmash.
that idea of texting it in some form of the chat, just as a
Yeah.
note taker. Being able to receive even just spellings of names is great, and to have it just clearly laid out is awesome. So I would love that.
What we might actually do in that regard, and this would be training on both mine and Anna's part, because I was already thinking about, I often, when I am DMing a game, I will put the full-size photo of a character in the Discord chat, but our audience will not be seeing the Discord chat. And so I was hypothetically thinking of having it ready to put the full-size photo temporarily in Roll20. And when we do that, we might put the character's name and pronouns in the Roll20 chat for note takers and audience alike.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It would be training on our DMs, but we can handle a little training.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could even post their name, gender, country, whatever information we feel is relevant to the audience, just in the picture itself, just to make it super
Ooh.
easy.
Yeah, single image. I'm sure Danielle could work that up for. If you hadn't heard the plug before, Danielle Skaggs, Seeksy on DeviantArt. Go there, support her. She's amazing.
Yeah. My NPC well far in advance, as several people have heard, and if you've done a game in person, if you force me to NPC at the pad, will all be named Billy Bob.
Billy Bob 1 and 2.
No numbers.
Billy Bob, his cousin Billy Bob.
They're all Billy Bob. There is one where there's a horde of frogs. I believe Karina, you are part of this. Yep, all Billy Bob, all of them.
Oh, I had completely forgotten about that. You were absolutely.
that
Aquarna didn't even. I mean, Aquarna didn't ask their names, so like, it's not like she knew.
Like, please don't talk to that other frog. Don't do it.
We weren't in person. I couldn't see the terror in your eyes. I'm sorry. She did go around and talk to everybody. I apologize. That was her shtick.
I am loving these questions. These are very good, and it's also set in a nice format. Potentially, again, if we get a lot of fan questions, we might do some live Q&A nonsense that could be really fun. So this is good practice too. Please keep the questions coming if you have them.
Yeah.
Anna,
sorry,
are you? Sorry, this was a text I just got from someone. Anna, are you? Do you have yourself turned all the way up? I'm getting that Dallas is louder than you, which might just be the whole mic thing that we kind of got going on. That was weird with Discord.
It could just be my voice.
It could just be Dallas's voice.
Which yes is true. That was just someone just said that to me, and so I might say something to it if you knew.
Dallas down.
My default
Nope.
mic is a little.
No, you're
bit
totally all the way up.
That. Now the default speakers. All
Hey, also Danielle is in the chat.
Yeah.
She posted her
Plug
Twitch.
yourself.
Yeah, posted her Twitch. It's Kanaye for anyone that is listening that may not have access to the chat. Yeah.
Instagram or anything?
I know that she's got a Facebook page. Don't remember Facebook. Just
Yeah,
now.
Like us everything.
Part of Danny. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Yay! I don't know about the Instagram, but I did know that she has Facebook. She's got all of her. I say all. She's got a ton of her pictures up on Facebook. I actually haven't visited her DeviantArt. I was just talking to her in Discord actually because I had not seen the finished version of Narcissa. Her and I were working on it for several hours one night, but I didn't see the finish. And so I messaged her and I was like, "It's so good!" And so then I told her what we were doing, and so she must have hopped in. So yay, we're glad you're here.
Very glad you're here.
Yeah. And also, just a heads up, I see our numbers have gone up a little bit.
Wow.
For anyone who has gotten on recently, we are doing kind of question and answer right now. So if you have a question, post it in the comments.
I love that, Casey.
Very nice. Thank you.
Getting a bit more into mechanics, XP versus milestone. How are we handling level ups?
I far and away prefer milestone. However, I usually put it up to a group vote and on this.
Do not.
And Stu, I imagine that the color blue tastes something like water mixed with ice cream.
What flavor of ice cream, though?
Cake ice cream.
Okay, check it. So, like, more of a sorbet instead of ice cream. Since it's water, yeah.
A lot of birthday. I feel like a lot of birthday ice creams are so rich that you need to add that little bit of water.
Gotta finish.
Dude, use affogato that, pour a shot of espresso on the top of it, you're good. You're good.
As a player, I'm totally down with milestone. I don't really care either way.
Milestone's also a really good way to keep books at the same.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, I personally prefer, I just like numbers, so I personally prefer XP. It does not bother me either way which one is done, but I feel like both groups should probably be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So
Definitely.
the expectation would be then if we'd all level up across game at the same time.
Yes.
Okay.
If we did do traditional XP, which it does not sound like that's the direction we're going, I would apply any XP gained in one group to the other group.
Okay.
So, just... that's it. Yeah, other questions?
What expectations on players and play styles in terms of keeping the momentum going during combat and just I guess knowing your character, your abilities, rules, whatever?
I definitely encourage all my players to know what their character does and have a solid plan on their turn, but I mean, sometimes it's a global ability and you're suddenly falling off a cliff and you're scrambling for options. It happened. So I am in the camp of lots of grace, lots of patience, but also on the players, especially since in this context you are all actors. There's a little bit of pressure to know what your character does and to know what your options are.
So when I don't know, any rule conflicts come up or just areas we're not sure on what the exact mechanic is your preference to just make a quick decision yourself and then make a official decision later?
That is what I generally do. I am very open. Some of my players know the rules far better than I do. And I am very open to being corrected by my players, although I may choose to ignore the correction. Back to that rule of cool. Anna, if you want to chip in on this, this is something that the DMing style does not have to be universal, because we will be trading back and forth.
Oh yeah, I mean that sounds similar to what I would say. I mean yes, it is very important for me to keep character flow and story flow. So if I know you all know this, so if you come up with a solution that you would do, or the excellent fighter beside you would do, but your precious character wouldn't. Sorry, don't do it.
And it should also be pointed out, in later episodes, if we do end up doing PvP, you're going to see me do a lot more, no, that's what the rule says, and a lot less, oh, but it would be awesome if you tried.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because in PvP, I'm not going to have something that kills someone's character be something I homebrewed or made up on the spot.
Right.
PvP is also super unbalanced, so
Like,
let's not
facts.
throw other things in.
But the good news is, again, in canon, you're unlikely to die from losing a championship game.
I like that
Unlikely,
term,
being
unlikely.
At what point would it be likely?
Unlikely indeed. Let's play that game.
50 to 75% chance that some or all of you
As
may
we saw
die.
this past Tuesday, unlikely. It's still not impossible.
Oh.
It's like,
That's
don't
that
piss
whole-
off Yarbus and you're good, but
Meanwhile,
That's that
the
whole
giant-
DM speech. You don't perceive it.
You see nothing. You're fully confident they're not lying.
it appears to be safe. And you're like, uh-huh.
Appears.
Don't worry, guys.
Seems, perceive. Those are all just trigger words.
Not characters, but if it comes to that,
So that's a good question. Character death. It can happen. It might happen. Like,
situation pending. If you've played games with me before, you know I don't like character death. But legitimately, it is a feature. I very nearly had a very central character death just last Tuesday. We were one digit on one die away from a
What was it?
primary character death.
Was it 5 nat ones in a row, or was it 6 nat ones?
No,
in a
it was
row?
like it
Or
wasn't
like
even
8 nat
me
ones
though.
in a row.
Roll20 hates people. Like, I don't
Roll20
know if
is
people
evil.
are aware of this, but Roll20, I refuse to roll it anymore. Like, I have to roll my own die where I have
Sacrifices to the Eldritch Gods of Roll, or they don't give you the good rolls.
That must be what Brittany tell her. She needs to take care of it. This poor character who has not played a lot of this poor woman who has not played a lot of D&D kept rolling ones and ones and ones and felt, she messaged me, she felt so bad. She was like, I promise I'm not trying to kill your character. I'm like, no, sweetie, I know you're not. Like, don't worry, I'm not taking this personally. But yeah,
The game
no, it
is
was
trying.
I think I succeeded the first saving throw, failed the next two, and then
Rolled a 10.
And then rolled a 10. Rolled with disadvantage and rolled like a 12 and a 10. And
I had to look up if a 10 was a success or a failure.
Tawny of the Snow Feather is not quite finished yet.
But yes, character death can happen. I just do not try to set up scenarios where characters will die, unless they are incredibly unfortunate or incredibly dense.
cool.
I also do not like character death.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah. Well, especially if someone's invested in it, especially if we have an audience invested in the character. Like, I don't want to give people magical plot armor, but neither am I going to try to kill them.
But you should also
Like, it is fun. This is a thing happen. Random. Off.
I am. Hold on.
Okay. We're just making sure you are alive, because that's important too.
Hey, this is
Technical.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hold on. Is it back?
Yes,
Oh,
it is back.
we're back.
It says it has good.
Hooray! I like how our memes are just for everyone.
Memes are for everyone.
Memes are for everyone this session, apparently. Sorry. My dog face.
How many levels are we expecting to get across the season?
That is an excellent question. Generally, in my experience, having run now almost 10, closer to 15 actually, seasons of D&D games from a professional perspective, you usually, if you start at level 1, you can expect to be in the neighborhood of 5 to 8 at the end of a season.
Okay.
Depending on, like, especially with Milestone, like, depending on how many mini climaxes you have.
Okay.
How many substantial points you find, or how many Warlock's patrons you ask politely.
I'm also getting a better sense. I'm also like getting a better sense right now about how our Monday game plays, because if the range is 5 to 8, and we barely made it to 5 at the end of season 1.
Hey, but you know, we have a ship full of NPCs, so like...
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's basically how
Befriend
our game
everyone.
went.
We have so many NPCs, we literally do not know what to do with them. We're building an army, it's fine, don't worry about it. It's
Y'all
fine.
just collect children. That's the trouble.
Hey,
We are
that is
literally-
untrue. We only have one child, and for what it's worth, it's a baby red. That's different.
It's different.
Yeah, they made a show about it on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Prince. Excellent.
I mean, if I recall correctly, our season 1 ended like at level 3.
Facts. Y'all's was weird though. Like, I love y'all to death, but that was the weirdest season I've ever run. It was a great time though. Fancy hats for the win.
I Fancy Hats brings me such joy.
If they ask this on blog, shout out to Jack and Harrison. It was a great time.
Love.
Oh, I feel sorry for Jack though. He had never roleplayed before. He did an amazing.
What a way to start.
But it was the weirdest game.
So, this next question.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, we're pretty, seems like fun, joking, you know, lighthearted group. Like, what is the expected tone of these games? Like, are we going into more, like, emotional or, like, really, like character moments, or are we trying to keep it more humorous and entertaining? Or what's the balance there?
So I try to like a really, really neat balance between those heavy, weighty moments and having a con where people can throw raves and generally laugh, joke, lightly flirt with each other. Like, there should be room for
Can
both.
confirm.
There should be room for both.
Have had all three of those happen in one session.
And it should feel natural. When it's not, usually that prompts, to me at least, a meta conversation, at least with myself, sometimes involving the players, talking about, like, what do you need from me to make the tone of this more diverse, especially like when it gets super low and it stays there. Like, how can we pick this tone back up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Anna, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I tend to design games and DM what I want from things out of a player. I want my 12-year-old tiefling bard to be able to ask all of the annoying questions in the world and be able to be as annoying as possible and do fun tricks, but I also want her to be able to question, like, just because her family are saying that she has to be a thief. I mean, what is good in this world? And kind of ask those questions. And anybody else in the group going to kind of mentor her and show her the way and kind of have those space to ask those questions. And maybe she has a crush on one of them, and that's a fun area to explore too. And so I want to have those. Like I said, all of them, and maybe like what they all happen in the same session. So it's fun.
Yeah. Awesome. In terms of player interaction, like, we can get a bit into jokes and our asides and just kind of being the awesome people that we are. But, like, is there an expectation to limit way to focus on staying and in the game?
I do not plan on any arbitrary limit on players being. However, I would ask that if you as a player are consciously aware that you started and or continuing a tangent that has absolutely nothing to do with what's actually on, that you then also share the responsibility of bringing it back to what's at hand once the joke has played itself out. Does that sound fair?
Runaway train.
Unless you're literally trying to get on a runaway train to happen. I make no promises.
Oh.
Runaway trains. What else do I need?
Well, haste. Water. You want to make it scary. Maybe grease, really, like, reduce the friction.
Oh gosh.
Wow, how many people are you trying to murder?
All of
It
them.
depends. Where's
Some
the train
poison
going?
spray for good measure.
If you need to stop a runaway train, you just grab a big dinosaur and cast enlarge on it, and then watch it play around with it like a little toy.
No, you put a dinosaur on one track, and then you put an NPC on another track, and you put the control between the two tracks in the hands of someone, and they have to make a decision quickly.
You said the dinosaur.
Yes.
I mean,
That's the direction.
they're basically dogs.
I just like how everyone is like the dinosaur. Like no pause.
But who's the NPC though?
Probably Arthur, I don't know.
Oh, you said.
Oh.
In which
You said
case we're like,
NPC.
okay, just pop out of the way. Like it'll be
Oh, no,
fine.
other Arthur. There's an Arthur in this setting. Apologies.
Oh.
I was like, you gotta specify there, Dallas.
All the Arthurs and all the Rowans and
Uthers? There's more than
Uther,
Uther.
Uther is the thing.
Uthers.
Uther's fine.
is an Uther deity in this setting, so I'm unlikely to name any of my NPCs Uther, but you never know.
Utherson, you know.
Real quick, can we cast invisibility on the runaway train? Like, is that too large?
Who are
You can
you?
hear it coming, but
If
you
you
don't
cast
know where it is.
If you get on the tracks, then it's saving in order to keep it because I can't see it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
See, and these are the very
How
kind
does
of
the
tangents
spell
that we could
discriminate
literally
between the
go
track
forever.
and train?
On a meta level, though, like sometimes as a DM, #DM problems, filling 3 hours is a lot. So I don't always mind a tangent as long as everyone seems to be having fun.
Yeah. I'm sure you will gently remind us when we need to get on track.
I have an NPC.
Yeah, that's what I meant. You.
All my ACs are self-inserts.
Keep telling yourself that.
So, like, a good idea on how to do the whole tangent thing is when you go off on a tangent, keep an eye on Twitch to see the numbers, and whenever it even start to go, and you bring it back.
If the numbers go up, stay on the tangent.
Yeah, the other DM can just send a little message and be like, hey, give.
If it's this voice call of Anna, do a rotation of her hand, like keep it going, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going.
My question goes out to the players. Loot distribution. How do we handle that? Are we doing even everything everyone finds? Are we letting people keep secret stashes that no one knows about?
That's kind of like tied to one that I kind of have for you, Dallas, insofar as how much out of group conversation do you want there to occur? I know I have played in groups, even with you before, where some of the conversation that was occurring is sort of happening under the table, where like the player is whispering things to you specifically that they're wanting to do. How much of that are you thinking? That kind of goes along with like the secret stashes and that kind of thing.
And Anna's going to need to chime in on this as well, because I have not talked to her about it. But I am going to be a lot less lenient in what I let be secret, because much more so than in most of my games, we are playing for the audience. And so while your character can do secret things, the secret things need to be said out loud so to speak. Said, things like death saves I would still like sent to me privately. And there may be a context where writing a note, like everyone needs to know you're writing the secret note, you can send the contents of the note to me privately. Does that all add up?
Yeah.
That's good.
But as
So
far
not
as like
secret- sorry,
keeping
so
secret
not
loot from
secret
your
in a meta sense.
Say that, Kevin?
So not secret in like a meta sense, like everyone can see what you're doing, but it can be you're as a character you can keep secrets or stashes or whatever.
Yes, and I trust the players in this group specifically enough with that level of meta information to continue role playing as if they don't know.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
I don't know how that's going to relate to like stealing gear for yourself and keeping it in a private stash. Is up to y'all.
Yeah. My preference as a player is to have expectation be to evenly split loot we find in like dungeons and things like that. But if someone would like to make the personal choice for their character for whatever reason to withhold a certain thing or a certain amount or something like that, that I'm like totally cool with that. I just don't want it to be like the norm.
Lene,
Mm-hmm.
you've played in my games before. You don't get any loot.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I was going to ask you, is there actually going to be loot?
What?
Meanwhile, yeah,
Loot.
Monday night's game is like, wait, what?
That is like
Y'all
another
get paid?
Y'all get paid?
The question I have though is like money and loot and like are we starting like I don't think we've discussed this in character making, but like are we starting with certain amounts of money? Is there a level that, you know, shopping and gold plays into this world, or are we just kind of gonna not really think about money?
Some of you are going to start with actual contract work on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So you will be doing work for payment. And so I will make an effort, even though it goes against my DMing style, to try to involve a certain amount of economy in the game. But I make no promises. Anna will likely keep me honest, though.
Yeah, I'm totally down with just finding bits of gold every now and then. Like I don't need to be paid in contracts, but
Just let me rifle through the, pockets of people in the crowd every once in a while.
yeah, I need to
No.
buy armor.
So coins and basics, not like 401ks and stock and bond options.
Oh, come on.
Although, if you would like to discuss your 401k, I happen to have vast knowledge.
Kevin, you are very soft.
Yeah, I was laughing.
But you were trying to say something.
Much interest.
Oh, it was a mindless comment about this time in the lore of the story. They should be getting a stock exchange about now.
That is a fact.
Making your character's goal.
Some snake oil salesman's going to try to make you buy all the stock options.
As long as he, speaks with a snake accent, I'm gonna totally be there for it.
I have a
He'll
snake
drop out of the
accent. I
game.
play Yanti in my games.
You
all
do.
the
I have
time.
heard it. This is why I said.
I also feel like as long as the loot likes me, I'm good with it.
We have had that happen a few times, haven't we?
Point out, only occasionally are the items that you find that are intelligent actually cursed.
I mean, I just really want more of your weapon voices to happen to other people.
We might have to bring back that battle axe that likes being thrown into combat. That was a thing.
Oh man.
My next question comes to us from the Roll20. Oh, sorry, what were you saying, Lydia?
Lydia?
Wasn't me. Nope.
Oh.
Sorry, someone
I
was
think it was Anna. Anna, did you say something?
Oh, just the comment that I get that sentient weapons are a thing.
It is indeed a thing if you've known Dallas for any amount of time. Sentient weapons are a thing. Lydia's laughing. We remember that game.
Yeah, well, apparently I have a dagger that likes me, so we'll figure that out later.
I wish you'd been there for the bow when the bow first yelled at Sasha. I wish you'd been there. It was glorious.
Anna.
We'll
We'll get to that in a second, Lene. 1 second, Lene. Anna, I apologize for you having to imitate my weapons. Including creepy pieces of armor that were...
Oh boy.
I like how literally everyone in the Discord was like, oh.
I was what that dialogue is going to be like.
Question from the Roll20. I saw the dude.
Are we gonna keep our pre-stream space? Because I really do enjoy that space.
I feel like
we
there's none to not do it. I'm relatively neutral on butts.
Relatively.
I'm hesitant but neutral.
But neutral. Okay.
Neutral. What you say?
Okay. I know where the dog door is.
I couldn't resist.
I'm so glad you said it.
I've been good whole session. Inappropriate nature.
It's another next question. Timing. Expectation online prior to that.
So Panicky Heart would love it if everyone would check in minutes before, but I understand people have lives, and I do not expect to be rolling dice My expectation for doing the professionally for what, 4 months now?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Well, that's about all I have for my questions. And then keep with our general theme of wanting to have a break at some point. We've been chatting here for 2 hours. Anyone want to take a short break to get water, use the bathroom, just stretch it out, and then
Now will
maybe
be an
open it up
excellent
to
time.
world questions or anything like that?
Yeah, I would love to do some deep dive lore stuff with y'all. Anna and I may be tight-lipped. But let's take a break. Let's all be back at 9 o'clock Central. That's 5 minutes per the clock on my computer.
Cool.
Thanks,
And I'll
guys.
see you then.
Cool. Do you want us to give a thumbs up in the Discord when we're back?
Please do.
Yeah.
Nice idea. All right. I feel like this whole thumbs up thing is like everyone coming together for a rave instead of everyone holding their hands up in the air. It's just thumbs up in the
Just
air,
thumbs.
jumping around. Very, very natural though.
Well, I think, I have 2 minutes before we're officially back on. I'm gonna brag about fixing my fence. To prevent them from getting out of my yard. And I think I finally plugged their last hole because I let them out just before I ran to refill my drink. And they came back in very disappointed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, one more.
General question is the group. And be willing to maybe like type them up or post them or something.
note. And
You're I am here to help, yes.
since Bailey is going on his nightly howling session, this is a good time to mention that there will be some background noises on people's mics. There are multiple children in the households that are being played out of. I have pets and a child, so there will need to be some patience with that. And if things need to be repeated, definitely speak up, either as an audience member or as a player, and ask for things to be repeated.
Real quick question for our audience members. Well, not the question for the audience members. Question for you, Dallas.
Mm.
Do you think, for Anna, it body
Background reference.
Yeah. And then I do this. Do I have the intro? I have the intro. Yes. Oh, it's good now. I'm gonna go ahead and see what I can do about this. Okay.
it has not popped up yet.
Yeah.
Is this good? Okay.
Pretending to be good.
Pretending to be good due to your CPU impact. Okay. Okay. Let's see.
Danielle mentioned that it came back for her after she refreshed.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Oh,
Is it back?
I'm going to refresh then see if it comes back.
Yeah, it's back, or it is.
Ah! I have it back.
Thank you, Danielle.
Yay!
We love our audience. Okay. I believe everyone is back. We want to open the floor for some lore questions. Of course, process and mechanics open season, but there was a request for specifically a section for lore. Anyone?
I feel I feel like I've been doing nothing but quizzing y'all for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, but you've been doing it on a private channel.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I just don't know what to ask anymore because I've asked all my questions.
That does make sense, and that's
I
allowed.
got a question.
Okay.
So in this land, there's 7 main goddesses, and we kind of read a little bit about them. Do they have any reputations that we should know about?
I am going to go with a definite yes on that. Specifically, so Jobix, and in particular, is a theocracy. So they follow, the nation of Jobix follows all deities, which are sometimes very contrary. And so if you are in Jobix, you are passively familiar with the reputation the different deities have. I'm going to pull up a list. And I will go through and kind of give my perception how worshippers of these deities are viewed. And then y'all can respond to that. Now, an important sidebar here. Anna and I have determined that due to the nature of deity worship, different sects are very distinct and separate from each other. They follow the same deity. So just because my interpretation of how to follow this deity is one way does not mean that is the way. And you may meet followers that have completely other ideas because they were created by Anna and her perception of how they would worship. Does that make sense?
Yep. I really like that because it follows real life more. There are many different levels of people who follow different things.
All right, let me get to there in the official notes. So Uther, the god of prosperity. So while he himself is not necessarily characterized as such, though sometimes definitely is, his followers are definitely viewed as party animals. And carefree, sometimes lazy, even though worked into his base tenet is the idea that you have to earn festival that you're celebrating. That's just not how the public views them. They feel like all they do is party, and that's dumb. On the upside, though, a lot of followers of Uther are respected for their athleticism, for their physique, and for just the passion that they dive into life with. Yarvis, the goddess of death, confuses a lot
Carly is not like she necessarily would have ever seen a chicken or had a force feed one before.
And so handling check came up a critical failure, and so yeah, she stuffed the trail mix in Tawny's throat, and Tawny choked on it and took a my pain.
With 0 HP in the first place.
I mean,
Same range, just with a dagger and
yep. This was it was like several crit failures like in a row that were rolled on roll 20 that just like eventually she was standing next to Tawny, and this is Tawny with an AC of 20 because she's a cleric and casts shield on herself, and so like very difficult to hit and all of this stuff, and it's like, nah, but the ranger nat 1 with her daggers next to you, and it's just like, and that was 8 damage and I had 2 HP. Like crit fail, Krill. Also, now the chicken is choking. Good job. Like, I felt so bad.
Anna, it says the stream is offline.
Is she back in?
Yeah,
I didn't
I
even...
see that too.
Oh, I didn't even realize she was back in the call.
You're telling a Tawny story. Tawny stories are always valuable.
Tawny stories are... Tawny tells stories, so like, she's gonna try to not tell that story because Brittany felt so bad. Meanwhile, like, her character is like a genuinely innocent, nice character person, so it was just like, oh god, oh god, oh god. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's still telling me it's offline,
Yeah.
Anna.
While we're waiting for that to get back up, I will preemptively apologize for the fact that my Discord hates me and usually kicks me off every hour and a half to 2 hours, and I don't know it because it doesn't tell me it kicked me off. So if I'm talking and all of a sudden I'm not, somebody bug me via text because my Discord hates me and I have to jump off and get back on, and then it'll be working just fine.
Stupid Discord. You made me look bad.
Sorry.
It's okay. My headphones have this little easy to press button, and sometimes I accidentally hit you for like 10 minutes with everyone laughing with them, and then I'll be like, Casey, can you hear us? And it's like, oh, you haven't heard anything.
And you wasted all that charisma.
Do we want to get back into my dissertation of the different worshippers? I'm gonna start back with Jarvis.
We are like the old Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? Apparently you can.
Are we online now?
We are.
So Jarvis confuses people, and so naturally her followers do as well. And while they are very priestly and they know all the cleric spells, like, they're loath to people. Super into it. Loath the whole smiting. They do an impressive amount of humanitarian work. They are into they're very progressive, but they're not in the live. And that's the we'll see really the side come out is these party hardy people that are like, yeah, life sounds like a party. And so they for being stingy despite being impressive of work because they don't think life should be unnaturally extended. They believe pretty firm.
So necromancy.
Yeah, no, necromancy's super bad too. Folding, like, what are you doing?
Sorry, small point of tension, and maybe it's just because I work really closely in medicine. What? So they don't like unnecessarily extending people's lives, but what limitations do they put on unnecessarily shortening people's lives? Because I imagine that accidents do that, or do they not view that as an artificial shortening, but as a natural one?
That would come down to the individual follower, and a lot of Yarvis acolytes who do adventuring things will still heal their companions from wounds that occurred in battle or in the greater service of the world. Basically, like if somebody got hurt protecting other people, most Yarvis followers would say they deserve to be healed from that because they chose to put their lives in danger to protect someone else. But it really does come down to the individual. It's like pacifism, where some people are like strictly, absolutely no violence, context is irrelevant. And others are like, well, if someone attacks you, defend yourself, but don't instigate violence.
Okay, cool.
And so there's a bit of a spectrum.
Gotcha.
I'm curious about you talk about like unnaturally prolonging life, which I'm reading to say like magic.
Yes.
So how does that interact with like say and you said that they also do like a lot of humanitarian and like progressive work. So how does that like jive with like create food and water, or like even like all of the work, like what is natural, is unnatural?
A hot debate in the Yarvis community right now, actually, because with the rise of science and industry, life expectancy is also rising, and people's lives are legitimately getting longer. And so there is a great amount of debate as to whether or not the humanitarian work they're doing is actually working against their own beliefs. Most of them still stick with it because tradition is a very powerful thing, but that's definitely something debated in the temples of Jarvis right now.
How did the tradition of humanitarian work get started for the death cult?
Because lack of access to basic needs like food, water, a place to live, unnaturally shortened countless lives. And they are against the shortening or lengthening of people's natural lives.
Interesting.
Cool.
Zorafina, goddess of storms. So Zorafina is treated very much as a wild card, as are her followers. Not gonna lie, heavy influence by Valhalla culture, and both ancient and modern pagans in this idea where there's a really heavy emphasis on like living it up, but also with honor. Like don't just party to exist, but celebrate your victories. And a real strong trend towards fighting for the underdog. This gives them following up on lost causes, and being all thunder and no lightning, as the cutting saying. But most followers of Zorafina deter by such insults and do genuinely believe in carrying the banner of seemingly lost causes and showing that even out of the darkest sky, light can come. Get the full range of metaphors in there. We're going to pop up to the top with Ariel, or Ariel, depending on how you want to say it. Followers of Ariel tend to be all classified as druidic, although that is not strictly true. Many of them fall into any and all of the subclasses. So their shtick is definitely protecting the natural world. This puts them in a very strong position of anti-industrialism, which doesn't glean them a lot of favors in most of the centers of the world that are super invested in the pantheon. You will definitely see a lot of temples, though they are mobile affairs, in Vontaria, dedicated to Ariel, where a group of acolytes will have a large tent that they actually move around to different communities, you know, doing whatever they can to help, whether that's providing the, healing magics that most people anticipate out of clerics, or even just helping with a particularly rowdy herd, if that's what's going on. Outside of Ontario, though, not a lot of people care, and Ariel tends to be one of the more soft-spoken deity figures. And so even in areas like Jobix that quote-unquote respect all seven, there's just not as much space given to the hippies, as it were. Beatrice, the goddess of vengeance, is considerably more cultish than the others, making demands of her followers rather than requests, and having a pretty dang high standard of what you've got to do to be a devout. Like, you have to settle all of your quarrels permanently, whether that's with violence or not, and you have to demand your own rights in every situation if you were slighted in the slightest, or she will strip you of your cleric powers. But also, like, very rewarding. She's one of the loudest deities, and one that holds a lot of sway in the nobility of Jobix. Y'all are going to meet a character that is a devout of Beatrice. But the followers themselves are often viewed as dangerous, volatile, and unpredictable, and in general, people don't like them. Kira, the goddess of life, is very much YOLO. Very much, you've only got one shot at this, make it the absolute best you can. As such, her followers tend to be adrenaline junkies, and they tend to intentionally put themselves in dangerous situations for the thrill of it. Also, not unlike Kira and Yarvis themselves, the followers of Kira and Yarvis have an interesting partnership. It's not formally established, but they're definitely closely intertwined, and often are mixed followers of death and life, each individual member hailing to one or the other, but there's no external differentiation. And so the whole mess is often treated as a cult and just written off. Then finally, Riro, goddess of outcasts, tends to be a little more withdrawn than the others. And so, following suit, her followers are also very withdrawn. And they crop up randomly. They're not really treated like a cult because they're not that organized. But you can bet if you even start breathing the word slave trade, you're going to get an army of ninjas and assassins at your door bearing the symbol of the broken chain, and they're going to mess that up. So there's a lot of power, but it's very hidden, and so it's almost like a spook in the dark. Like, people are always scared of violating human rights too far because this weird group shows up, and absolutely no one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
You said in Jobix it's a theocracy where they worship all seven.
Yes.
So is there, like, how do people do that? Is it like you try to have a balance of each one of them in your life? Do you, like, pray to one specifically for each kind of thing, or like how do they worship all 7?
So, on a governmental level, the government is divided into 7 sections, each one representing one of the pantheons. And through the years, exactly what is distributed to which section of government has changed, as it naturally does. But they tend to try, at least on the outside, to assign tasks to the sections of government that would best represent the deity that section of government serves. Individual citizens are rarely devout to more than one of the deities. Cultural expectation is that if you serve, say, Uther, you work in commerce and trade. Whereas if you serve Rero, you likely work in human resources or maybe sanitation or that kind of thing. Whereas if you serve Yarvis, you likely work in the healthcare side of things, etc., etc.
There's an error again, I think.
More
I haven't
error.
seen an error yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
So it totally could just be me.
Yeah, it says there's an error and then it switched back to good, so it might blip out for a second, but it's coming right back.
Sweet.
What's
So-
Zorafina's sector?
Zorafina's sector tends to include a lot of sailors. Definitely the docks district of every city, the ones most under threat from big storms, are going to hail to Zorafina. And then a section, though not all, of the military is also dedicated to her.
Then you said the average person doesn't really worship all 7. They like kind of just pick whichever
Well,
one they kind
they
of
pick one, and it makes a very informal caste system. Where it's not tiered, it's horizontal. Where based on who you follow, kind of puts you in a type of job. Not that job is better or someone else, but it puts you on a particular career path.
Cool. And then like many countries worship gods or have gods that are
Talk about Bringia, or should I leave it alone?
Question. Well,
Get back to that. I'll talk about Vontaria first.
or brand, yeah, like the map.
Brangovia, sorry.
Okay.
As of
Brango.
Because like the map and the notes differ.
Yeah. What were you gonna?
Yeah, each nation that we plan out has its own government set up, its own deity set up. Whether or not we've revealed those things yet is varies. Obviously, we've revealed everything about Jobix or Jobix, depending on what realm you're from. But yeah, Dallas, you can go ahead and tell us all about Vontaria.
Obviously, Vontaria attracts a lot of people who worship Ariel. Well, she is not really like the patron deity of Vontaria or anything super formal like that. People who believe in preservation of the wild and so have relatively open borders, and people tend to choose in a nation that agrees with their ideology. Now, obviously, generational ideology form, and there's people whose families followed this method, and so they're going to follow this method and this thought pattern. But thinkers who want to live their own life don't have a very hard time immigrating nation to nation. So, example, a lot of Ariel end up in Vontaria because her values align with their values. Um, that's
Cool.
So you mentioned uh relatively loose and open borders. But also I feel like there's been a lot of like explicit conflict around borders and the opposite of openness.
yeah. Let me see if I can address that. Um, the so if an individual wants to become, for example, a Vontarian, and they go to Vontaria and they tell the Vontarian people there, they meet up with whatever clans watching the border that day, and they're like, hey, so legit, like, I want to join you. I love what you're doing. Like, that clan might set up some basic tests or whatever that they want the person to accomplish to prove their sincerity. But there's a general if you're we're on welcome, you're our new family member. If, using this example, a family from Lepkit decides to remain Lepkin, and in Ontario and starting border are like, no, 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 stay in land.
I think so. And what about Brangovia?
Now, of all the nations, Brangovia is the most unapproachable. While their borders have never formally been closed, it is well known that there are areas of Brangovia that you're just not allowed in unless people actually know you. And they do not appreciate outsiders.
Brangovia also has two very powerful natural borders. You're going to have to get over the mountains on one side and cross a huge canyon on the other side. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they
Good
set
questions,
up a
though.
fortress in the intersection between them.
Oh yeah, then once you cross one mountain, cross the other set. You can certainly try.
We in Brangovia have two sets of mountains on the border. One is natural, the other made by the finest craftsmen in the continent.
Yeah, it's a little bit different of a border than Ringtovia and Jobix, which has the railroad connecting the two for trade.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can go up into anybody can get into Ringtovia.
Low standards up there.
I feel like we've wandered away from the deities, but I do actually have another question.
Hit me.
I feel like you've talked a lot about followers of the deities and some about like the kind of relationship to their followers and the transference of power, but can you tell me a little bit more about like the deities themselves and like specifically how, if at all, they manifest in the physical world? Like if you do a bang and rave, would you see like
It's like
Vix?
chilling in the VIP section.
Would like if you're walking through the like is Ariel just killing her? You're like, are you like a real ass deer? Or are you a god right now?
Like, how often do they reach down, however you want to phrase it, and like interact with the mortal realm?
Yeah. Yeah, like as themselves. Or less.
So in my perception,
know?
again, because again, I'm not the only one writing this world. But my gut reflex to that is that it is rare, but definitely not unheard of. They are very active in the communities of their followers, even if they don't make physical appearances very often. They definitely make their will and intention known. They are not quiet, silent figures. But as far as physical manifestations, that is far more rare. But again, not unheard of.
Yeah, I would say especially the deities overall. They're highly engaged in their followers and the world at large. I would believe it's a sliding scale on how they feel towards their followers as a community and the individuals. But I would say that they are highly involved now, like Dallas said, physical manifestations. Um, that's gonna be up to character decisions, and yes, there is going to be a rave session. We're here for that.
Here for the rave.
That's gonna have some dice cooperation. I hope you get lucky. That would be fun.
Now, in sharp contrast, when you go to in London for the games, the gods will be there in person.
Gonna turn to like the post Olympics, and it's just gonna be everyone being up with the gods, and it's gonna be great. Question about the games. So you said Rintonia is the current holders of the wreath, but like,
Yes.
is there like a winning it country? I mean, we know Jobix is the worst apparently, but like, who's the best? Who's won like the last like maybe like 4?
So Brangovia and Rintogia are consistent winners. Vontaria is definitely always a competitor because they embody many of the physical skills required to win the big tournaments. Kit and Jobix are usually coming up from the rear, though Let arrive technology and their sheer will to be blunt with things and experiment, trial by error.
The nuclear skills.
But Jobix just hasn't been able to ride that wave in the same way.
Are the different like contests traditionally done in I guess more like naturalist way? Like would any like of the technology, like you said, like Lepkick was benefiting from technology. Like how has technology worked its way into how they approached?
So it has definitely put Vontaria at a minor disadvantage, which is why so many of the recent trophies have been taken by Brangovia or Rintogia, because they very much ride that line between tradition and modernization.
Okay.
But no, with the advance of technology, the gods have determined several very technology-focused events because they, overall, the Pantheon sees a value in the rise of technology.
Cool. Like totally a different subject. If anyone has more along the line of the god in the games, go for it.
Yeah, I have. Can you tell us a little bit more specifically what benefits winning the games confers to the nation that wins it?
You'll get the Never Wilting Wreath, which has an excellent particle effect on it. It illuminates a effect similar to the Northern Lights that can be seen nearly across the entire continent. And with that comes the boon and favor of the god. Those who hold the wreath get to shape the continent based on their ideologies and goals. The gods are behind them.
How does that
Like, how did the
like
last
play out?
winners use it?
Yeah, how does that play out in practice?
Rintogia is about
do
to
they
build a
just,
railroad. Say again?
Can the wreath, the never wilting wreath, can that be stolen?
Hypothetically, though it would.
Does the boon of the gods transfer with the wreath if it's stolen?
Nobody's been bold enough to try it, but I smell a plot hook. Rogue be stolen.
These band
I'm
of idiots
still-
in the quest for the never wilting wreath.
I'm still trying to understand how the gods work. You've told me a little bit. Well, I've got the one example that Rintogia is building a train, but how the boon of the gods transfer into train building? Like what do the gods like? What how? What?
That is not something your character would have direct. That is not knowledge your character would have direct access to.
That's not really knowledge any character would have
Yeah,
access to.
unless you were at like the highest levels of government.
But how do you get resources to build a train? How do you have the work ethic, the right weather, like those kind of things that would just need to fall in all the right places to build a train?
Yeah. So are you telling me that Vontaria has not won it in the last 87 years? 70 years?
Would you have had access to it if they did?
I mean, like,
Like, I guess, like, the last time Ontario had it, like, how did they
yeah,
use
but
it?
like what happened? Like even if I wasn't like using it directly, like what?
So I'm off the cuffing a bit here, so don't necessarily write this down. But some examples are when one of the times Brangovia had it, they built their iconic border fortress breached. One of the times Jobix had it, they were able to secure. It was when they started relations with foreign countries, which brought in
Years.
One of the times Vontaria had it, they were able to secure moving the border of Lepkit and claiming the southern swamplands for the native that live. Things of that nature.
Oh my god, that's a huge lore drop. When did that happen?
Probably not tremendously long ago, because Lepkit initially claimed the entire swampland.
I mean, like, greater than or less than 70 years ago.
Hmm?
Oh my god. I need to know this, Dallas. You don't have to tell me that, buddy, but like, you
Well,
do need to tell me this.
One
This
thing
is
we
relevant.
could do, Dallas, if you're comfortable with it, speaking of going off the cuff.
I hope my off the cuffing is not scaring you, Anna.
No, not at all. It's exciting. For the last since we definitely know Jobix hasn't won it for the last long while, we could go back like every year a champion list and not necessarily highlight exactly who's won it every 5 years, but give some highlight reels and some examples throughout time. Like that's a little side fun lore project that I could be interested in doing, and with the right history checks, we'd have some good info for you guys.
Yeah, I actually really like that.
Like, I love
Yeah, I'm here
like
for
how
that.
like certain Olympic years were like really awesome or really cool or like are memorable in some way, and I think it'd be cool to kind of know like which Indian games are particularly memorable in the culture and like what happened or what they caused.
Time, couple more questions. If there's anything particularly pressing, is the hour.
I have just a question that piqued my mind based on something you said earlier. Is there slavery in this world? Like, are there human right violations that are maybe kind of happening?
If there are, they are kept very far beneath the respective hats of the ones doing them, because there is an active anti-slavery group that has a strong presence on the continent, and they are violent. They have no bones about killing people.
Okay. Did there used to be slavery then? Like, where did like that? I mean, like obviously, like slavery is bad, but like, why is that such a strong thing?
So there is a mythology story associated with it that your character may bump into,
Okay.
but it is a fixture of the pantheon.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Are the gods and goddesses above human needs and desires? Do they have morals? The reason why I ask is, can they be persuaded? Can they be persuaded?
definitely inspired by the Greek, Norse, Egyptian, etc. mythologies. They are very fallible. They are very mortal minded, if that makes any sense. So yes.
It does bring the idea of the golden apple story to mind.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. My second question is, what's the end game for the gods and goddesses? It seems like every 5 years they have the different countries come together to compete in this game. What's their end game in all this?
Isn't
To
that
be
an
worshipped?
interesting question?
That is a really interesting question, and theories differ wildly. There is a vague prophecy that has been lore dropped already and will be available in the public-facing Google Drive. But that is the only hints anyone would have to the gods in-game.
But they are fallible.
They are fallible.
Okay.
Though there are certainly those who believe that they are not.
Okay. But our characters would not know that.
They might have theories.
Okay. That's a lot of questions around the prophecy. Like,
And you're going to get a lot of vague BS.
but like how long? Like, I guess how long have the games been happening? Like how old is this prophecy?
So
I would
old.
pitch that the games have been happening longer than any creature that has memory has been alive.
Okay.
Nobody remembers a time where the games were not a fixture, even the long-lived elves.
What about the gods, which some of us have relationships with?
The gods will tell you that they invented the games.
Hmm.
Whether that's true or not is up to you.
All right. All right.
So,
Oh wait, sorry, go ahead.
so is the gist of the prophecy that we do these games every 5 years until some calamities happen and then it ends, or like I don't think
That's
I
one
necessarily
interpretation.
understand. Okay.
The gods take the prophecy very seriously, but also refuse to answer questions about it. So, de facto, a lot of people on the continents take the games very seriously, but don't always know why.
I find it funny that the country that is the least serious about the games is the most serious about the gods. Then
It's not that they're the least serious.
You just
They-
talented.
Due to, others would say, due to being distracted by their non-Qutasan connection, they have failed to win the game.
Was
Like, how
that
bad
the
are
last
they?
game that they won?
Hmm?
Was that the last game that they won?
The one that allowed them to establish connections outside? Likely.
Yes, yes. Oh my god.
Yeah, which was over 100 years ago. But like, are they like always last every year? Are they competitive? They just can't win, or like
I would argue they are competitive, but they can't take home the victory.
and outplayed? Okay.
And so culturally, Jobix has kind of moved on. The movers, shakers, and moneymakers of Jobix assume they're not going to win, and so they don't tend to put a lot of investment in.
Got it.
So-
Sarah, you had a question.
Was there or is there any record of any like Lepkit or Rictogia? Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it. Is there any record of what they did with the reef when they had it? Like, or is that in the hands of the higher ups of government within that countryside?
Anna mentioned earlier she's going to actually work on kind of a greatest hits, and we will do our best to make sure everyone features in that, so you can kind of get an idea of what the different authority figures did with that.
You betcha.
We really only have time for one or two more questions. How's everyone feeling?
Feeling good.
Pretty good. I do have one question, and it
Yeah.
maybe ultimately kind of minor, but something that the Eulandian games kind of parallel our Olympic games, and of course in the Olympic games there's no like winner of no one country wins the Olympics. So how does one country win the Eulandian games?
So each event is scored separately, and each winning score of each event is worth a certain score towards victory. So some events have more points that you can take from them and apply to your total score. Some have less, like the dancing competition and the insult competition aren't going to get you very many points. But the team ultimate frisbee match definitely is.
They scored like all or nothing points wise, or is there like, like how you have like the 3 medals? Are there tiers of points you can score?
With only 5 competitors, generally it's winner take all.
Okay.
And it's just whichever nation has the most points at the end of it,
At the
most
end.
weighted points at the end is the one who gets it.
Yes.
Got it.
Has a meta emerged that we could research?
Like the
Like
best way to
really
win
going
each
for the
event.
heavily weighted games or
Yeah.
something.
We will make up a score chart.
Cool.
Cool.
Can you make a note of that, Anna? Because that's gonna be on me. That's math and rule stuff. That's me.
You go for that.
Yeah, that would be great to know like what are the big events,
Yeah.
Like no one really wants to watch badminton, but like
Oh, come on. Badminton's fun.
Ping pong, on the other hand, like
exactly.
man, those guys, whew,
They go off.
those
Oh my
grunts
goodness.
are actually like worth something. In badminton, you're like, huh.
Oh.
You're welcome, Dallas.
You're welcome. Yes.
I
All
had
right.
oops, sorry.
Oh, you first, Sarah.
I had one last question before we go. I just thought of it. You know how in the Olympics they do testing for steroid use or any kind of outside influences in the games? Is there such a
Is this the
system?
rogue asking again? I feel like this is the rogue asking again.
It may or
Question,
may not
though.
be the rogue. I cannot confirm or deny that. It is a known unknown.
Your casters buff people for events?
Yes. So there are a very small handful of events where magic is explicitly banned. But when it is not explicitly banned, any outside help is allowed. Magic,
level fireball.
doping, any of it.
Would taking something or having something on your person be considered magic use?
Depending on the context, you would have to ask the gods at the event. The gods are the judges of the events.
What about magic that's not actually magic?
That's called
Do I hear
technology.
the psionic asking a question now?
Maybe.
Again, you would have to either explicitly ask the gods that are judging the event, or you would have to risk being disqualified.
Okay.
Deceive the gods.
Most
I
of
rolled
the
to
events
deceive the gods.
allow any external assist that you can think of. Anything that you can drag to the alternate dimension and make work.
Me and my T-Rex are just gonna hop on over here. It'll be just
Several
fine.
of the events explicitly require a mount.
Do you have to bring your own mount, or do they get provided?
BYOB.
BYOM.
BYOM.
So then it could be argued that the other countries may have won the event from outside help.
Aren't many of the mounted events specifically about making a relationship with an unknown mount?
Okay, Kat, I'm gonna need you to pretend like you don't know me. Here we go.
In the real world, yes. However, the purpose of the gods in this game is to see what the different nations can bring in terms of, mounts and riders. And so, no, you provide your own mount.
Okay, so would that be something that, like, during
Training!
the training month, is that something that's like a common goal of teams, of to like find their mounts and train with them?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited.
Should have been a tabaxi,
Okay.
and then you could have been a cat riding a cat, and then we'll just win.
Yeah, I think I would kind of love to know what are like some like cultural traditional like training things. Like, what are things that people do to prep for the games?
Adventuring is super common, but
Well, yeah,
we will write more
yeah,
specifics.
Yeah,
We are at the end of our stream.
yeah.
Woo!
Y'all, this has been amazing.
Yep.
So good.
Thank you so much for all the questions and the investment and the interest and the patience. I have a sign off that I am going to read once that again, ideally will be read after every games, same as the preamble is read before. And here it goes. Well, that is all for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope to see you back next week, same time, for the next installment of The Legend of Qutasa. If you like what we're doing and you want to support the show, go check out our Patreon. If you'd just like to give us a tip, PayPal will be linked in the description of this video. Have a good night, everyone. Wash your hands and stay safe out there.
Awesome, but don't join next week.
Wear a
But
mask.
don't join. Come this week, come back in 2 weeks. 26. 26 is your number.
Yep.
Shut down stream press.
Better.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.